without Tiffany Hayes. She is just the consummate team player. I love her aggression. I love her competitiveness and her aggression. She gives us another gear, and especially a gear at the rim. KP gets downhill, Tip gets downhill. It puts a different kind of pressure on the defense. But I could go down the line. Throwing her in the starting lineup, throw Meg, throw AC. It's actually a skill set in itself because we've been having so kind of many moving parts. And I told them in our meeting, it might be Meg, might be AC, it might be, we're going more by matchups than night in and night out matchups, trying to win games than just this steady dose of whatever. Could be key again. We don't know. We're gonna throw out the best team we can that gives us the best start. But Tip has been just a stud. I don't know how to put it. I'm crazy about her game.
Right over here, Becky. Tonight's attendance was just over 18,000. Your team is about to go on the road and play in some bigger arenas. How does this help to get ready for the final push of the season, to get out of maybe home court and get your team ready to play these bigger arenas around the country?
I don't think we pay any close attention to we care that the floor is 94 feet, the basket's 10 feet high. Connecticut's actually a little smaller venue, and then you jump to Barclays, which is a huge arena. So more importantly than the venue, I love that 18,000 people are showing up to cheer on the Aces. I think these are, organizationally, these are good problems. When we can fill out these kind of venues, that's great for the W, that's great for women's basketball, and I'm all for filling out big arenas.
Becky, Chicago held to 13 points there first quarter, just barely over 30 for the half. Just some of your takeaways from your team from a defensive standpoint today in the W for you guys.
Just trying to stay solid. I think we're trying to build off of our base. And when I talk about our base, our players know there's some base principles that we don't stray from. And the last 2 or 3 games, I would say, up until this point, we've been shady on our base. Sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't. The base has to be so rock solid. And then once that's solid, we can throw in junk. But if we can't be trusted in the basics, we can't be trusted with these other things. So I think the fact that I would say we are being more disciplined and being more intentional about not breaking our own rules, and just being where you're supposed to be at the right time, we're starting to build up some trust. I don't think you can build up trust unless you have a track record. And now we're building up a track record of being there for each other, And that's really what I want to build on. The basketball stuff will happen. The being where you're supposed to be on time for each other is huge. And it starts to build this trust that's, contagious. And so as long as we're playing defense and rebounding, I always think we have a chance.
Becky, going back to those moving pieces that you were talking about, these lineup changes have kind of created opportunities for different players. Have you sensed that the group kind of being in a stalemate a couple of weeks ago, have you sensed that the lineup changes have kind of revitalized this group?
We came out of the break and went 2 and 4. I told them I feel like a lot of our frustration comes from being average, and we had a point where I just told it to them how it is, and kind of since that point, it's been just a different gear, been a different feel than it was previously. So I give them credit. I coach them hard. I tell them the truth. I tough love them. I tell them when they're great. I tell them when they're not. And now it's just about consistency. It's about consistency, showing up every day for each other and obeying the basketball gods. Doing our defensive base, communicating the scout. think my frustration and their frustration really before was we would lose and then we wouldn't have any carryover to the next game. We wouldn't learn from it. You can't just keep making the same mistakes over and over. And in the last 3 games, we are not making the same mistakes over and over, whether that's me calling a timeout and correcting it, or they're doing self-correction, which is even better. The self-correction on the fly is the best kind of anecdote when things start to snowball.
Coach, going back to your answer to Callie's question in regards to having really high expectations for your team and just saying that you believe that this team can kick into another gear, how do you help them or inspire them to tap into that next gear? How do you reach that?
I mean, it seems, I mean, in ways it's very simple. Like the last 2 games, we've had something like 57 assists on 69 field goals. The marriage of individual success to the team success is real. And so you're never going to get that, like, everybody win mentality unless you get some self-sacrifice in there. And I think the accountability piece, the self-sacrifice, being intentional about how we play defense, and then being intentional about how we move the ball. I know somebody got some kind of stat on what we shoot from the floor when we get 2 or more passes. Come on, Nikias, do your little analytics thing. 2+ passes, and we shoot a way better percentage than when it's just 1 pass or no pass. And it's a fine balance for a coach, because one of the greatest assets we have is our individual play, right? Individual talent. One of our greatest weaknesses are individual talent. It's getting everybody to play together and sharpen each other's talents and bring out the greatness in each other's talents. When you have so many kind of like anybody can take over a game at any time, it's hard to fight that. It's a push and pull, and it's a fine line to walk as a coach of when to let them go and when to reel them back in. But one thing we do know is when that ball's popping, the aces are at their best.
Jump to Zoom, Michael and then Matthew.
Michael, you're on. Yeah, go ahead. Honestly, it's. I think I'm beyond a little bit of the host spot this year. I think we can beat anyone anywhere, and we can lose to anyone anywhere, Vegas or somewhere else. It hasn't been the home cooking that it was last year, which is good and bad, you know. But I've liked us on the road this year. So it's not so much about jockeying. For me, it's been my experience that when you try to play with the basketball gods and manipulate the situation, and you want to land here so that this doesn't happen, or you want to land here, it's whatever. I think you just want to be playing your best basketball at the right time of the year, and that's more of my focus than where we may end up in the standings.
I have been talking to Sue. She said, there's so many people. She's really proud of obviously what coaches and assistant coaches, and I fact what that means to, like she said.
I mean, I've always been very clear about my feelings for New York. It's important for the league that New York do well. It just is. It's a huge market. They need to put a great product on the floor, which they are, and they have been. It's good for our league. I mean, it's the media capital of the world. There's a lot of eyes on them. I think Joe and Claire Sy are up there just with owners that are willing to invest in their team and in their product and believe in it. I mean, they really believe in the W, and they're willing to put their money where their mouth is. And I think we need more leaders like that. More leaders like Mark Davis, who are willing to invest, the Phoenix owner. You know, they're just stepping up the game. But, I remember a time when I was watching, I was on the NBA side, but New York was playing up in White Plains in some, I don't even know what kind of gym, but I was like, what a travesty, and then Josiah picks it up and puts it where it belongs. And I think that kind of forward thinking and that forward investment doesn't hurt to have some superstars in Sabrina and Stewie and Junko. I mean, they've really loaded up their roster. And like I said, it's important. It's important as much as I want to beat them when we play them. New York needs to do well. It's just good for the league.
Matthew, and then Nikias close us out.
Michael, there was a time where we were selling out that Garden. Yeah. So, I mean, the fact that we're kind of back to that sellout capacity with that team they have there, I think is phenomenal. I think is great.
And just balancing, trying to be a good, in finding each other, and also not playing.
Well, I mean, traditionally, we take good care of the ball. Obviously, having 6 turnovers in a quarter is never acceptable. And I just remind them I want singles and doubles. Singles and doubles. When you swing for the fence on these home runs, if you have to thread the needle that much, probably not that open. If you just play solid basketball and don't throw it to the other team, like the home runs will happen. You don't have to make them happen. They will naturally happen. Anybody who goes up to the plate, if you ever play softball or baseball, you go up the plate and swing for a home run, you end up whiffing most of the time. You just take your solid stroke, and when you connect, and you hit it out of the park. So I'm just encouraging them to just singles and doubles passing wise. And, sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't. But taking care of the ball is obviously a top priority for us. And like I said, tonight in that third quarter, it got away from us a little bit, but I trust them. The one Chelsea threw, it was a garbage pass. She snatched it right back out. I was like, okay. You don't have to really tell them when they make a mistake on some of these. So, again, the self-correction and trying to get to the next play mentally is helpful.
Nikias, final question comes from you.
Well, Nikai, since you're talking about Chelsea, come on, Chelsea. She just walked in. Come on. Come on. You feel like it was your best game on both ends of the floor? Ask her, Nikai. She's sitting right here. I think you're starting to see her become more and more comfortable. Find her groove. Chelsea got her groove back.
I didn't hear the question. You walked in and said yes, just great.
It just was, you start to become more Chelsea Ray. And I said, yes, every day she just looks more and more like a killer.
Yeah, for sure. I think offensively, like my timing and being in shape and all those things are coming back. Like I was saying, like I want to be the best form of myself in September and October, not in May and June. So I think that's what you're kind of seeing on both ends of the court as well. That's great.
Two, if possible. Chelsea, this first one's for you. Down to your left. Becky was just in here, and Becky said that she felt that the team's frustrations came from being mediocre. First question is that energy and kind of excitement and that fun kind of starting to creep back into that locker room?
Yeah, I mean, we've been like we love being around each other, but it's not that fun when you're not winning basketball games and enjoying doing it on and off the court. So yeah, we're starting to feel and have that intensity on the court so we can enjoy those moments.
And then Tip, in that second quarter, you guys made that big run with Asia on the bench. How big is that for this group? And obviously, it's cohesive as heading into the postseason.
Definitely huge when she can get those minutes to just rest and we can go out there and do our thing, especially on the defensive end. We know she's one of our biggest helpers down there, biggest helpers. So it just shows the growth in us just growing together. And like you said, our cohesiveness getting better with defending our basket.
Over here, Tiffany, Becky had high praise for you and your game and how you've been developing for this team over the course of this season. At what point did it start to click for you here in Las Vegas, your role with this team?
I mean, I don't really have a specific time. It's just as time went on. That's what happens when you're meant to be somewhere, and it's just going to take a little bit of time, and that's just how it was. This team has always welcomed me here, wanted to be here, and knew what I could do all along. It just took some time to get to where I needed to be, and it just clicked. I don't really know when.
Questions? Top of the Zoom, and that is not negotiable.
That's something.
I want to ask.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll make it quick. Yeah, it's like before you drink, before you, I think, look at you, have that big smile on your Hey, Matthew, you breaking up. Can you just-
We can't hear you, Matthew.
You want to text me your question?
I mean, just if the shot clock I get the ball, it's just good enough. Good. I have one option. Yeah, great option.
What else?
No, you.
That woman's a legend, and I just love seeing her here and cheering us on and just having fun at the game. She's given so much to the game. I'm happy to look on the sideline and see her enjoying it. We always say we want to leave the game better than we found it, and she's one of those pioneers that did that for us.
Girl, come back. Come back, please.
You got